Well, I believe that's a big part of this tour. First of all and foremost is that we are able to put something back in the game.
Players from the older generation really seem to be able to find a way to get into the fans' hearts.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun playing, and what happens out there is what happened to me 30, 40 years ago. And I still think that I can move as fast, but when I look at the replays, it's just not there. I wonder what the heck I'm doing on the ice.
On a cold February afternoon in Toronto, thousands of hockey fans got together at Maple Leaf Gardens to relive the glory days with the greatest hockey legends on ice.
And now the Dream Team. They are the Great Hockey!
I'll tell you, this is a once in a lifetime. I mean, these are the best of the best, and it's a real thrill. It's enjoyable, it's fun, it's great.
Okay, let's go.
They are the legends, and this is the first on a 44-stop tour of Canada and the United States. Their goal? To give something back to a game they love, to share a common joy of the game of hockey. Not for glory, not for fame, not for money, for the fan.
I really feel that this is the last group of athletes in our game that will take the time and the energy to go out and put something back into the sport. I don't think we'll get the Gretzkys and the Lemieux and the Brett Hulls out to do this kind of things 15, 20 years from now.
The legends live on, featuring the Oldtimers Hockey Challenge. They are the greatest hockey legends on ice.
Just want to take your picture here.
Oh, Eddie, you're taking a beating here.
Today is not my day. Yesterday was my day, though.
I feel our team philosophy is if you're not having fun, go home. We don't want you. So that's why it is fun for us, and it's very easy to see that.
The game itself has changed. When I say I like the game that the legends are playing. There's not very few fouls in it, so that people can witness the talent these men have.
For Eddie Shack, Maple Leaf Gardens is a homecoming. Here he was known as the entertainer. Nothing has changed. He is the entertainer. Clear the track. Here comes Shack.
I was with Eddie Shack when he decided to live the life he's living. He, as you know, Eddie can't read or write, and he was playing in New York, a young man, and the coaching staff and the players all teased Eddie. And Eddie and I were sitting watching a basketball game one night, and he was very depressed because of all the teasing and all that. And we were sitting, he says, you know something? They want a clown in the National Hockey League. They're going to have the best clown they've ever had in their life. The next night on the ice, he started to change his act, and the real Eddie Shack emerged.
Eddie Shack couldn't punch his way through a plastic bag.
And I like to have fun. I like to kibitz. I like to see people laugh, and I love people. So if you love people, you know, that's what it's all about.
Well, we've got something going here.
When he goofed, they cheered. When he scored, they cheered. In fact, no matter what he did, they cheered. He failed to make an all-star team, didn't take home any trophies, but Eddie Shack was a clown, an entertainer, a player who received more standing ovations for his mere presence than any other Leaf. But it didn't start out that way.
When you're born in Sudbury and played hockey, you know, on the streets, and then I worked as a butcher, and then I got a chance to get away, and I got a chance to get to Guelph, and getting to Guelph, then I got serious, and the last couple of years that I played, and made the NHL, and then went to New York, and I hated New York, matter of fact.
After a brief stint in New York, Shack went on to Toronto to play with the Leafs, winning 4 Stanley Cup rings during the 60s.
I was lucky to be on the club, so you did something a little bit different. You wanted to stay with the club.
Shack believes it was the hockey of the past that made the game what it is today.
Well, the NHL, I think the NHL, they're very lucky in a lot of ways, because they've got a product that we sold, and we sold a good product. We started out with no helmets. We started out with starting from the net and skating right through and shooting it and slapping it. And now what they're doing, they're starting at center ice. They're hooking and grabbing because they haven't got enough speed. They shoot it in the corners. They're not shooting it at the net.
The NHL was not the same when Eddie retired in 1974, but Clear the Track Shack continues to entertain hundreds of thousands of fans on the Oldtimers tour.
I love to kibitz, I love to have fun, and I think that's what it's all about.
And as another Oldtimers game comes to an end, there's been plenty of scoring and lots of fun. The final score is irrelevant because everyone's a winner. The law enforcement team, the Special Olympics, and the fans. They have traveled across the prairies, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and on to Alberta. The love of hockey and the grueling road trips are reminiscent of the glory days. The friendships, camaraderie, and rivalries are rekindled.
Yeah, but that would kill it right there.
In Calgary, the Legends have a rare day off and a media luncheon before the game when they'll play a team comprised of players from the City Police and the Flames alumni. For Guy Lafleur and Eddie Shack, numerous interviews and an appearance at an NHL game at the Canadian Airlines Saddledome. During the intermission, a celebrity shootout, and the fans remember.
Well, it's always nice to see that the fans didn't forget what you did when you played in the NHL, and it's nice to go around, and you have even young ones, 7, 8, 9 years old, they never had a chance to see you play, but it seems like they know you about it through their parents, so it's very special.
It's game day in Calgary, and the event is sold out. For the Legends, stop number 32 on the Oldtimers tour. The atmosphere in the dressing room before the game is what it should be, with the Legends autographing sticks and posters back together once again.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Up at Nikiska? Yeah. Great spot.
How's your boy doing? Still working on it.
Oh yeah, we always have a lot of fun. It's something we've done all our lives, and the camaraderie between the guys and the jokes and stories and everything else comes to the fore on these trips, especially this one being a long trip, and we all enjoy it quite thoroughly.
The capacity crowd at the Saddledome will see their hockey heroes take on the Calgary City Police and Flames alumni team. The Oldtimers Hockey Challenge would feature 6 Hockey Hall of Famers.
Oh yeah, we're big time.
Red Story, Guy Lafleur, Frank Mahovlich, Gilbert Perreault, Maurice the Rocket Richard, and the hometown hero, May 25th, 1989. A dream came true for Lanny McDonald when he finally held the Stanley Cup.
When the final buzzer went, it was like a stoppage in time.
It was a storybook ending to a 16-year NHL career that featured stops in Toronto, Colorado, and Calgary. The highlight? When he scored early in the second period during the 7th game of the Stanley Cup Final to give the Flames a 2-1 lead on their way to a 4-2 victory over the favored Montreal Canadiens.
It's just the best feeling when you know that so much work had gone into it, and especially I knew in my own mind that I wasn't going to play again. That what a great way to end it all.
Always admired for his talent and big heart, Lanny ended his career with over 1,000 points, including 500 goals. His values were learned as a small-town boy in Craigmile, Alberta.
It was always neat at harvest time because whoever was the first one done wasn't really done, because you just went to the next farmer's place and helped. You are a small family, but you're all in it together. And really, when you think about it and transfer that over to sports, unless you play as a team, you never get it really accomplished. So whether it's in life or sport, the two go hand in hand.
As a player on the Oldtimers tour, Lanny sees the sincere adulation of the fans.
The players from yesteryears, the Mahovliches, the Ullmans, Lafleurs, even McDonald's. A lot of the fans, there's a generation there that absolutely idolize the game. Not that the kids don't idolize it today, but it's a little bit different, and especially with the salaries, that's the other portion of it. It's taken some of that love affair with the game away.
As the vice president of marketing with the Calgary Flames, Lanny sees a difference in the players of yesterday and those of today.
We felt pressure because of the pride inside. The players still have the same amount of pride, but the pressure comes from the monetary side of it more than anything.
Hockey has been good to the man with a mustache, culminating with his induction into the Hockey Hall of Fame. The action was fast, the fun non-stop. And Lanny scored the first goal of the game. For the fans, memories of the man with a mustache blazing down the wing and being there when the Flames won their only Stanley Cup. Jimmy Mann scored with a little help from his friends, Gilbert Perreault and Guy Lafleur. Perreault and Lafleur helped out again. This time, Frank Mahovlich found the mark. The Flower would then pot one himself, scoring the classic goal of the game.
They love to see the talents of a Lafleur. We had a game in Calgary, and Guy scored a goal that I dare anyone in the world to duplicate. And the crowd just went bananas. There was over 20,000 in there. I couldn't even believe what he did. And he was only able to do it because we play within the rules.
For Perreault, his competitive spirit and freewheeling play is not forgotten. He still has the powerful skating strides and the deadly accurate shot that made him a hockey great.
Our type of style to compare to the hockey of today is different. I guess people, they love to watch the freestyle, you know, which today hockey is a little bit more, there's a lot of hooking in the game, so it's pretty tough to play that game the same way that like we used to.
Backhand drive, Perreault right there,
Selected first overall in the 1970 amateur draft, Gilbert Perreault was the franchise for the Buffalo Sabres, leading the team for 17 seasons. Perreault set a new standard for NHL freshmen, scoring 38 goals in his inaugural season and winning the Calder Trophy.
In 1970, when I came in the league, there was 14 teams. Now there's 26. So the talent is all over the place now instead to be with one team. And It's if you watch the Montreal Canadiens, they don't have the same team like they used to have. So, of course, with 26 teams, it's going to take more years to build.
A career highlight came in 1975 when he played on a line with Rick Martin and René Robert, the famed French connection.
We went to the Stanley Cup final in '75. That was probably the greatest moment, as with the team. Individually, was the 500 goals. Having the chance to play with those Canada Cup was pretty good too.
Always a great playmaker, with more assists than goals, Perreault scored 512 times during his career and was an All-Star twice. He won the Lady Byng Trophy in 1973 and was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1990. Gilbert Perreault continues to wear sweater number 11 on the tour, a number that fans will never forget.
We love to play hockey, I guess. It's in our blood, and of course, traveling like we do is a little bit tougher. Of course, we're playing every day, plus the traveling, but we still enjoy the game very much, and the players, I guess, they don't want to. They still have the game inside of them, so they want to put the show on once in a while.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Eddie.
For the Legends, another successful stop, and $40,000 was raised for the local charity. But it's time to move on. Call time, 7 a.m. More autographs, a few pictures, and it's back on the bus. This time, just a short hop, a 2-hour drive from Calgary to Red Deer. For the Legends, this will be their second game in less than 24 hours. Even though the bus rides are reminiscent of the minors in the early years in the National Hockey League, the players enjoy another aspect.
Gives me the opportunity of visiting Canada and know our country better.
The stories are just that. I've heard most of them, but it's always quite nice to be able to reminisce with your peers and tell the different stories that happened to different fellas over the course of their careers.
The Red Deer Centrium, and the Legends are ready to do it all again, to give their all for what will be a packed house.
On a trip like this, we get away for a month. I think it's a little long. It's a little tough on everybody. But we know that the people paid the same amount of money for the last game of our trip or the first game, so we have to put out to give them a good show.
Wow, hello, fun, man. They're unbelievable. Now tell me how you got this job.
I worked really hard.
Eddie Shack and Red Story are the exceptions. Always up, always ready to put on a good show.
I'm doing what I was born to do. I believe everyone in the world was born to do something special. And those that live their life doing something special they were born to do are happy people. And I think I was born for the entertainment world, whether it was playing or refereeing or on the banquet circuit or things like that. So I'm living my life and it's wonderful.
Born in Barrie, Ontario in 1918, Roy Allen Story, known as Red, first rushed onto the sports scene in football. To this day, he still holds a Grey Cup record while playing with Toronto in the championship game against Winnipeg. In 1938, he scored 3 touchdowns in 13 minutes.
Well, it has been ruled no goal.
It was as a referee in the 50s that Red made his greatest contribution to sport. Well known as one of the most colorful officials in the NHL, Red refereed more than 2,000 games. He refereed by the book, which wasn't unlike many of the rules he learned in early life.
But we come from a broken home. There was 5 children. My mother is the greatest woman I've ever known in my life, and she was the guiding light behind our whole family. and it was tough to raise kids. We came through a depression, but she had 4 sets of rules, and one is it doesn't cost any money to be neat and clean. It doesn't cost any money to have manners. It doesn't cost any money to be honest, and if you don't own something, don't touch it. And we live by I still live by those rules.
It was Red's honesty and moral values that ended his officiating career in the NHL. During a playoff game in Montreal between the Hawks and the Canadiens, he made a controversial call. The fans became incensed and riots broke out. In all of the turmoil following the game, the league office refused to back Red. He quit.
My life, I've had many ups and downs. Everything to me has been a thrill, even though at the time it might have been a tragedy. These were thrills in my lifetime, and you can't have a smooth road all the time when you're in my type of life. I even love the riots.
And he's in there again. He must have about 19 by now.
Well, you know, when I'm refereeing, a lot of times I turn around and look at the crowd, and I see a grandfather pointing out something to his grandson or his son, and there's no noise, but you know they're interested.
Red always has something to say to the hundreds of fans and players he meets every day on the tour.
I honestly tell them, I said, you know, life is only a dream. Everybody lives in a dream world. And the fun of life is to make your dream come true.
Competitive in every game they play, the legends take pride in their status as role models for some, just plain hockey heroes for others. Whether they've been out of the game for just a few years, or 30 or 40 years, they all feel a need to live up to the expectations of the fans, to send a message.
Well, first of all, I want to show the people that's sitting in the building that are about 50, 55 years old, that if they want to do something and be in good shape, they have to move, they have to do exercise. So I just want to prove them, I'm 62 years old, I can do it, they can do it.
It is a lot of fun, and I think it's something for older people to get out there and just go and play, because it's all in the mind, and if you think you can do it, you know, you go ahead and do it.
Fun is a big part of the game. When the Red Deer RCMP team scores, they eventually pay the price. The antics are never ending.
We want the people to enjoy themselves. If it's too serious, they won't like it. So we're trying to put a little show in so that everybody was going to enjoy it, and so far everybody loves our show.
Of course, the support from the bench is always there, especially from the coach, one of hockey's greatest ambassadors. He is best remembered as the Golden Jet, flying down the wing, then striking with the fastest slap shot in the league. That became his signature and would set many records in the NHL history books.
Here I was, a kid from a small town in southeastern Ontario, 500 people, 600 dogs, and all of a sudden, out of school, I'm in Chicago. I'm in the National Hockey League. I am a bona fide National Hockey League player, and I said if I can only stay for 5 years, it will be great.
He played for 16 years in the NHL with the Chicago Blackhawks, then with Winnipeg and Hartford in the old WHA. Throughout those colorful years, Bobby Hull led in goals scored in 7 seasons. In 1966, he became the first player to score more than 50 goals in a season. He represented a breed of hockey player who would lay the groundwork for a lot of the success in hockey today.
Well, pioneers always suffer. I don't care who it is. The first people that embark upon things. And we kind of took the dirty end of the stick for a while, and now the kids are benefiting from it. And I don't mind a bit how much money these kids make, as long as they go out and entertain the fans royally and put something back into the game.
He's a marvelous man. Every hockey player that's making money today owes Bobby maybe 10% of their money. He's the man that made it possible for them to get big salaries.
Winner of the Art Ross Trophy 3 times, the Lady Byng Trophy, the Hart Trophy, and the Lester Patrick Trophy, Bobby has many fulfilling memories as one of the greatest to ever play the game. The Oldtimers Hockey Tour is his way of giving something back to the game that gave him so much.
We're doing this to help needy charities along with the police forces in the different towns and cities. And when we go to these places, there are a lot of folks that remembered us in our heyday, and that makes it all worthwhile. We just played for the sheer enjoyment of entertaining people. Of course, first of all, to make a boyhood dream come true, and then to make our families and the team we played on and the people watching proud of what we did.
Hall's $1 million contract signing in 1972 by the Winnipeg Jets of the then newly formed World Hockey Association placed him among the highest paid players in professional sports. His sons Bobby Jr. and Brett grew up during their dad's illustrious playing days. Now, Bobby shares in Brett's success with the St. Louis Blues of the NHL.
To have Brett come along and follow in the footsteps, it's so gratifying. I get as much enjoyment out of watching Brett play as I did of entertaining the people myself. And it's just wonderful to see how he conducts himself and plays the game the way it's supposed to be played.
Hull continues to be an ambassador for the game he loves.
I've always felt that the most important people in our game are those 20,000 people sitting up there in the stands, and those folks sitting home watching their TVs, the shut-ins and the kids and the elderly folks watching our game. And all I've done all my life is just tried to better the game for our players and for those people watching.
The tour continues with stops throughout Alberta and BC, in cities and towns, large and small. Red Story has not missed a day on this tour. The 76-year-old Hall of Famer enjoys every moment of it.
As soon as you're not active, your body dies on you. I'm going to go kicking and screaming and shouting and yelling and everything. I'm not going without a fight. And I love what I do. I love people and I love the game.
This will be their 4th month on the road, their 40th game, this time in Seattle, Washington, where they will face a city police team. Tiger Williams is one of the more recent additions. He hasn't been on the entire tour, but he jumps at every opportunity to get back with the boys.
To me, it's pure entertainment. Being on the bus and being in the dressing room is, to me, is where I get that's my biggest kick and thrill. And no matter where you're playing, there's always different guys, and it's nice to know some of the guys you played against, what they're really like. That's the part I really enjoy.
The day-to-day routine is a familiar one. The dressing room, the opening ceremonies, the fun of the game. It's a routine these players know only too well, but it's a routine they welcome.
It takes the clock back a little bit, you know, it reminds you what it's like to live with a bunch of guys for a couple of weeks on the same bus, and brings back some memories and a little bit of thrills too, playing with these guys.
Hey, what are you doing with old man down there?
A lot of players who are playing the Oldtimers game, they're not involved with any team, any NHL teams, and to play around, to travel around with the Oldtimers, it's kind of a gift where the players really appreciate that.
For the Seattle police team, playing against the legends of hockey is quite a thrill.
It's a real dream come true. People like Guy Lafleur coming here that I watched on TV when I was a kid. Maurice Richard, Mahavlich, Ullman, all those names are kind of household words in Canada, and not so much maybe in America or in this part of the country, but I love hockey, and I was watching hockey when I was a kid, and I saw them playing, and I never thought that I would be on the same rink with them, let's put it that way. It's like a dream come true.
Well, it's a real thrill for me, and I know it is for all the other guys to be playing against the idols of our youth and to actually be on the ice with them, skating against them.
Scoring and entertainment. This is the way hockey used to be.
Okay, wahoo!
Let's play, all right?
A little bit louder. Wahoo! All right, together now.
This has been a long trip for the freshman on the Oldtimers Tour, Ken Linsman. He played 14 years in the NHL with Philadelphia, Edmonton, Boston, and Toronto. And as the team arrived in Portland, Oregon, Ken reflected on the journey.
I remember how hard it is to be on a long road trip. Now, you know, going on the buses and, you know, there's a lot of time where you're waiting, and it's downtime that I have a hard time dealing with. But the games themselves, I think the thing I've enjoyed most maybe is watching Frank playing with his son Teddy, and I'm playing with him, which is fun too, and watching Frank moving the puck and getting a lot of satisfaction out of seeing his son play well and all that. I think that's been really fun.
As Linsman steps on the ice to play the Portland Oldtimers, he sees the difference in the hockey player of yesterday and today. He's been part of both.
From when I first broke in, it probably changed 2 or 3 times the type of person the players were that were turning professional. I turned in, a lot of guys weren't that interested per se in investments. They were more focused on playing hockey and their families and having fun. And as time went on, there were more players coming out of college, especially in the early mid-'80s with the success of the American Olympic team winning the gold medal. A lot of American players were coming in, and players started making more money, and the focus was not just on playing hockey. It was looking more towards the future.
57 years old, the smoothest skater that ever put on a Maple Leaf uniform.
The Oldtimers Hockey Challenge can't help but remind both the fans and the players of how the game used to be, when it was played for simpler values, pride, purpose.
These are the guys I grew up looking up to. They're way ahead of Gretzky and all those. They're really the cream of the crop, the ones that made hockey what it is today.
Yeah, these are the legends. It's guaranteed.
Norm Allman never saw the lucrative contracts that the players of his stature get today, but he is rich in memories.
I guess probably the 2 goals in 5 seconds against Chicago in the playoffs. I think it was around 1965. Yeah, that's something I'll never forget. Of course, Red brings it up every night at the games. And being inducted in the Hall of Fame is the ultimate, I guess, to be selected by your peers to be one of the best.
He was one of the best centers to play the game. Throughout his 20 years in the NHL, Norm Allman displayed a natural talent that eventually ranked him among the top 10 in all-time scoring. Now 60, Allman continues to show the strong skating and stick-handling skills that made him one of the best forecheckers of his time.
Henderson goes after it. Allman steals the puck in the corner. He's coming from the side. It just scores!
Allman surpassed the 20-goal plateau for 16 consecutive seasons. His best year was in Detroit during the 64-65 season, when he scored 42 goals to lead the league. Playing in the shadow of Gordie Howe and Alex Delvecchio, Norm was always content to do his job quietly and effectively. On the Oldtimers Tour, he continues to shun the limelight, preferring to just play hockey.
Yeah, I've always been quiet. That's my nature, I guess. We can't be all Eddie Shacks. But yeah, I'm quite serious most of the time. But I have my moments where I have a lot of fun, and on the ice, we generally get about as serious as the team we're playing against.
Always humble and in a class by himself, Norm was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1982. He looks back fondly at the memories the game gave him.
I guess just meeting people, relationships, teach you different things in life, how to live, how to behave, and discipline, hard work ethics. You're kind of put a little step above, I guess, the ordinary person, and they appreciate that.
The Portland game is the last stop on the U.S. portion of the tour. The legends have entertained thousands, made new friends, and will take with them plenty of fond memories. The tour is back in Canada. Next stop, the Chilliwack Coliseum, and another capacity crowd. Every game features a special tribute to the legendary Maurice "The Rocket" Richard. Maurice "The Rocket" Richard was the consummate superstar. He solidified that fact on March 18, 1945, when he scored his 50th goal in his 50th game of the season. In his 978 career games, the Rocket notched 544 goals, assisted on 421 others, and managed to spend more than 21 hours in the penalty box. Also known for his fierce temper on the ice, it cost him dearly during a late-season game in 1955. Upset with a call, the Rocket struck the referee. That eventually led to the commissioner, Clarence Campbell, suspending him for the final 3 games of the season and the playoffs, and resulted in the Richard Riot when Montreal fans went on a rampage.
The Rocket is still a very intense man. The Rocket is not a great one for humor on ice, and I don't think I have to tell you that. He likes things to be more serious, but Rocket was born to be serious. And I spoke to the late Frank Selke about it one time, and he says Rocket would never have been the great hockey player he was without the temperament that he has. He still wants to be #1 and a winner.
In his 18 years in the NHL, Richard was an All-Star 14 times, and in his 15 postseason appearances, he collected 8 Stanley Cup rings.
Maurice Richard passed it right in front of the net. Moore took a whack at it. Maurice Richard right in front of him.
Maurice "The Rocket" Richard, a legend of the game who will never be forgotten. In this game, the Legends were not going to be outdone by the Chilliwack RCMP team, one of the top senior teams in the province. Ken Linsman started off the scoring.
Get up there, get up there.
Then Frank Mahovlich showed a glimpse of the past. One of the finest skaters the game has ever seen gets a hat trick. The magic is still there, even at 58. The police team retaliate with a few goals of their own.
No! No, no, no! Gee, gee, gee!
Then Guy Lafleur answers the call, doing what he is best remembered for, scoring.
I think the highlight was to realize my dream, play in the NHL, play for the Montreal Canadiens, play with guys like Ken Dryden, Frank Mahovlich, Yvan Cournoyer, Jacques Demers. To be on a dream team, win the Stanley Cup was very special.
Guy Lafleur burst onto the hockey scene with the Montreal Canadiens in 1970 to become one of the top scorers of the decade. Affectionately known as the Flower, he is still the leading scorer in the glorious history of the Canadiens, running up his total at one point with 6 consecutive 50-goal seasons. He played on 5 Stanley Cup winners in 14 seasons before his initial retirement from the game in 1984. The Oldtimers tour gives him time to reflect.
Yeah, it's something that you don't want to forget, but time change, and for us, it's a way to stay close to the game too.
Guy collected a lot of hardware during his career, including 2 Hart trophies. Regardless of team allegiance, fans the world over appreciated the skill he brought to the game, and they will never forget it.
The first trophy Guy Lafleur ever got was in the Quebec Winter Carnival. He was 10 years old, and he received the Red Story Most Valuable Player Award. And I came back to Montreal and told him, make a room on your list for a guy by the name of Guy Lafleur in 8 years. They said, who? I said, write it down. Don't forget this guy because he's going to be a star. He not only became a star, he's a real gentleman and a pleasure to be with.
Here's the Fleur coming on the ice, and he is getting an immediate standing O.
In 1988, at the age of 37, the Flower came out of retirement to play with the New York Rangers. This reunion at the Montreal Forum showed the true adoration of the fans, even though he was playing against their beloved Canadians. He then went on to play a year with the Quebec Nordique, but the game had changed.
What's different in a way where the players were more minded towards money than the game itself. They were talking a lot more about the salary cap and things like that. And the game didn't change that much, but the mentality of the players was more business than a get-together. And if I would compare that to when I first started, Montreal Canadiens was a big family, and the guys really stick together.
Guy Lafleur lived his dream in hockey and was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1988.
We get along good, eh?
As the game wound down, Ted Mahovlich, Frank's son, potted a goal to add to the Legends' lead. The police team answered with a goal of their own, and that was it. The game wound up with plenty of scoring, creative license with the rules, and plenty of great entertainment for an appreciative crowd. The final stop on the tour, Vancouver. For bus driver Wayne Hansen, memories he'll never forget.
This is a dream come true, this. Just a chance to go out and find out what their day-to-day routines are. You know, they've made a point of including me in all of the, allowing me to be on the bench and to be in the dressing room with them and to hear some of the stories that they have to tell about their playing days, some of the different coaches and players that they've had. They've gone out of their way to make this part of my life.
For the players, precious little time to enjoy the beautiful scenery of Vancouver before heading to the Pacific Coliseum. This tour has been especially meaningful for Frank Mahovlich and his son Ted, who has been a part of the Legends Tour. Ted is writing a biography about his dad and wanted to experience firsthand what his father experienced during his days as a hockey superstar.
It's quite enlightening. I mean, getting to talk to these players, you get a different angle on, you know, the life that my father led. For a lot of my life, he wasn't around because he was traveling so much, and to get to experience what he experienced is a lot of fun.
That's right, and playing with him, I never played with Ted, and this is the first opportunity I've had, so it's working out real well. We really play well together, and I'm really enjoying seeing him enjoy himself.
He could skate, he could shoot bullets, one of the best skaters ever. He had a style that earned him superstar status and brought him 6 Stanley Cup rings. Frank Mahovlich was an enigma to hockey fans during his 16 years in the NHL with Toronto, Detroit, and Montreal. Born in 1938, he came from humble beginnings.
Timmins is 500 miles north of Toronto, so if you think Toronto's far north, you ought to go up to Timmins. And of course, we had about 6 months of snow up there and a lot of ice. And when I was maybe 3 or 4 years old, I got very keen on listening to Foster Hewitt on the radio. And Foster Hewitt was a broadcaster in Toronto and broadcast the Toronto Maple Leaf hockey team.
It was a great effort by Maurice Richard.
I remember my skates, my godmother gave them to me, and they were maybe size 11s that her son used to wear. And I put, my dad was a gold miner, and he had these working men's socks, and I put 3 of those on to fit in these skates, and I began to skate when I was about 4 years old.
Mahovlich won the Calder Cup trophy in 1958, and during the 1960-61 season with the Leafs, he scored 48 goals, a team record that stood for 21 years. Despite ongoing pressure from management, Frank flourished with the Leafs for 10 years and led the team in goals scored for 6 consecutive seasons. After a brilliant career that helped the Leafs earn 4 Stanley Cups, followed by a starring role in Detroit, Mahovlich achieved the superstar status he so richly deserved when he was traded to Montreal. In 3 seasons, the Big M played a key role and helped the Canadiens to 2 Stanley Cups. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1981. Every time he steps on the ice with the Oldtimers now, the fans roar with their approval. Perhaps one of his biggest fans is his proud son, Ted.
He's just another guy to me, you know. It's funny. People often say to me, you know, what's it like being the son of a superstar? And, you know, he's just another guy, which is the nice thing about it.
The opening ceremonies would recognize the recipient charity for the game, the Variety Club. Overall, the Oldtimers Tour would raise more than $350,000 for worthy charities from coast to coast. For the Legends, this is what it's all about.
Giving out a check for $40,000 and $10,000 in smaller places, helping a lot of people that right now they need a little bit of help, and with the cops, with the RCMP, they're really been a lot of help to us, and they've been promoting it and working hard.
The score remained close. Vancouver PD were an extremely competitive team, just the way the Legends like it.
I think these guys are the guys that I watched Saturday Night Hockey for years and idolized these guys that played for years in the NHL, and it's just a great thrill to be on the same ice surface with them and playing the great Canadian sport.
At this final game in Vancouver, the Legends reflect on a successful Oldtimers tour that has touched fans from coast to coast. Determined to continue doing this in the years to come, to capture the competitive spirit, camaraderie, and fun on and off the ice. They are realizing their dreams once again, bringing back memories of the glory days of hockey. They are the Legends. They will always live on.
I watched you play, I should know.
Yeah, I'm down there as many more.
Okay.
See the guy under Will Paymart?
Oh, and many more. I got you going.
That's